What's up, everybody? It's your boy Chaos, and we have another jam-packed episode of Take It to the Table for you guys. We're going to be talking about the awesome storyline that is involving the Death Riders and what's happened in the fallout of Dynasty. That should be fun. We are also going to be talking about if we are hyped now for the Jey Uso and Gunther storyline and their upcoming match at WrestleMania. And of course, with the rumors swirling around with Paige potentially returning back to WWE, who would we want to see be her potential feuds or potential opponents when she makes her return? So we got a lot of stuff to talk about, a lot to unpack, but make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And without further ado, let us take it to the table. Okay, so for this jam-packed episode, I need to have an esteemed panel, and I have none other than the two Bens of Wrestling Republic. We first have to start off with Mr. El Jefe. Obviously, I have to introduce him first before he fires me. How you doing today, Ben Allison?
I am doing fantastic. Arsenal destroyed Real Madrid in the Champions League last night at the time of recording. So yeah, I'm just delighted. I've been having a smile all day, and now you're making me talk about this Death Rider storyline. So that smile is going to turn upside down.
I'm sure it is, as well as everyone that's probably listening to or watching this episode, and I'm pretty sure they're gonna have their gripes in the comments. But obviously, very good result for you guys against Real Madrid. A very surprising result, but yeah, it was a sound beating. So yeah, I have no complaints. Finally, you're making an investment in Declan Rice. Finally, it's finally showing that 100 million price tag. So congratulations. Hopefully, you don't get bent over when you go back to the Burnabout. Anyway. Of course, last but not least, the yin to my yang, the Joker to my Batman, the meatballs to my spaghetti bolognese. It is none other than Soul. How you doing today, sir?
Good as always, brother. I'm just counting down that timer until I can actually say some good words. So we'll give the algorithm its time to adjust to kid-friendly content before I take us into the after watershed hours. But digressing on that point, people are going to moan, people are going to complain. We've got some fun topics here to discuss here, where we can truly go all out. Where I look at like an absolute disheveled man, but I'm paying my time for Vegas. I'm saving every bit of money I can.
Yes. For those that don't know, Mr. Soul is going to be part of the WrestleMania weekend. He's going to carry on the Wrestling Republic traditions over in Vegas after our since our last trip out there, which was to LA, WrestleMania 39. So yeah, he's going to carry on tradition and do us proud. Hopefully you don't end up in a skip or in the bush somewhere in just outside the Sphere or something. But yeah, that is great to have you guys here. And yeah, like I said, we have a jam-packed episode, and I think there's no better place than to start off with the conversation of the week, shall we say, and that is, of course, the aftermath of from AEW Dynasty and everything that pretty much mainly what happened at the end, the main event of AEW Dynasty. And yeah, quite divisive online. And obviously the main event for that show was Jon Moxley versus Swerve Strickland for the AEW World Championship. I'm pretty sure a lot of people were banking on, myself included, that Swerve was going to be the one to dethrone the leader of the Death Riders, that is Jon Moxley. But as you can probably assume, if you haven't kept up to speed with it, that didn't happen. And not only didn't it happen, but it left the pay-per-view, which was quite a fun pay-per-view. It was quite good. Left it hanging on a very sour note because Swerve Strickland did his finisher, was crawling, his knees were completely messed up. As soon as he was about to make the cover for Jon Moxley, place went black, and lo and behold, the Young Bucks returned, gave him the EVP or BTE, whatever they want to call it these days, and yeah, ultimately Jon Moxley retained. Quite a few people in the arena were pissed. Everyone online was pissed. And yeah, it's obviously Ben Allison gave his Allison analysis, and yeah, he's obviously had his 2 cents regarding that. It's one of the worst endings. That's 2 main events that's been ruined by crazy shenanigans or just ridiculous finishes to main event matches. And yeah, it's definitely put a sour note on what was quite a fun pay-per-view. So and I agree. I said even on the Daily Show frequently, I'm over this Death Rider stuff. There was potential at the beginning, with John Moxley always being cryptic and stuff, and then they started feeling like Retribution, just not as bad. And yeah, like this, I just couldn't care less. So it's just
So
and
bad.
it just seems to be getting worse and worse. We thought we was going to see the end of it by now. Obviously not. You know, we was hoping that maybe Darby Allin wanted to obviously dethrone him, but obviously, you know, he rather climb a mountain. And obviously the stuff with Christian and the contract to obviously challenge, and obviously that obviously went up in flames. So yeah, it's people are just really not feeling it. So you know, there's no best person to really start off with than, you know, the advocate for AEW, and that is of course Soul, host of the Soul Sessions. What are your thoughts of this Death Riders thing, and also, you know, what was going through your mind when you saw all that unravel in the main event of AEW Dynasty? Are you riding with it? Are you saying that, you know, we just gotta wait until it all got plans out? What's your thoughts on it overall? Talk to us.
At the end of the day, for any wrestling company, the audience needs to remember that they're not the storytellers. They are the reciprocators of the storytellers, who are the wrestlers and the booker. I feel like, especially within a lot of not just wrestling, modern media, a lot of people, audiences, feel like they have a say within how the story is told. You know, at the end of the day, yes, you are a fan of it. You're invested with these characters, you're invested with these companies, the storylines, and everything. But at the end of the day, you are just the consumer. You are just the reciprocation of the seeds that the storyteller is planting that will sow in the future for great fruits, or it will be a bad harvest. You can't feel like you're in the room saying this is where it should go, this is where it should stop, because at the end of the day, everyone's got different opinions. Everybody wants it to be different things. But at the end of the day, it's what Triple H, TK, Anthem, New Japan want their companies to go in storyline perspective. The Death Riders, is it my most favorite storyline of all time? No. Do I think it's all right? Yeah. The thing is, I've seen people go on like this harping thing about people complain about the Bloodline aren't going to complain about the Death Riders, and it's like the only difference is the Bloodline went on for multiple years and had very good highs, very very good highs, but then had very questionable lows. Now the Death Riders ain't the Bloodline. No way is it the Bloodline, right? And it's honestly it's had more lows than highs. But what my thing is as well is I think a lot of people have problems with this for multiple factors. And the one is obviously they did the Elite and this too closely together as a storyline. A lot of people thought the EVPs was the whole big takeover thing. They thought Death Riders was the whole takeover thing. Well, even the Death Riders itself isn't a takeover, it's a reshaping. And I've seen people confused. What is this meaning? What is it about? And I feel like if you watch the product and with what AEW tells, you do understand it, because from the get go of Moxley coming back, he was saying that this isn't your company anymore, and he was basically saying that it's his. He was the soul in the start of it during the pandemic. He led it into an usher of area where there's no people that could really enjoy it, and he's always been the company that the guy has fallen back upon. Punk would brawl out, interim championships, needing to come back and save pay-per-views. It's been him. He's also been somebody that has just really put the company on his back, is why he got an 8-year deal, because he deserves it. The promo in the back of the truck after Wrestle Dream finished, where he says he hates what AEW become. He wants to cut out what the infectious meets, the people that don't want to be here, the people that are just here for a paycheck, and make it a company that really is like battle hardened. It's like the days of the Spartans and 300, of how only the strongest will survive by basically having the lesser runts fight each other out, so you have the fruitful warriors. There's also the AEW stories that has been on their YouTube channel. and they showed it, yes, on TV. But as well, I don't think you should treat your viewers like idiots. We are in a digital world right now where you don't have to go to a house show or read a magazine. Everything, information is so available now. You could put up a web link and be like, there you go. Now, yeah, some people don't have the internet if they were born in 1940 and they live in a retirement home. But at the end of the day, everybody has internet access, and simple one click of something, it's solvable to find anything. And at the end of the day, I can't sit down with somebody and say, this is the points, this is how it explained to me, and I understand it. And they go, well, I don't understand it. Well, I've tried to explain it to you and you don't get it. I'm not going to harpen my enjoyment of entertainment for somebody who doesn't get it or doesn't want to understand it. I can't continuously tell people, this is the points, this is what's happening. I've watched this, you watch this and this and this, and you'll understand. And then they go, nah, I don't want to. I just want it dumbed down to me and tell me this and this. Well, I'm not going to keep fighting that battle. I get it. I care about my enjoyment at the end of the day, and that's what I want. Now, to harken back what I said about, people are the bookers, the storyteller, we are the audience. We're also the consumers as well. So you have to have that balance. I remember there was a thing about the media scrum afterwards about Dynasty, and it was a question asked about, when do you know to pull the trigger? Now, obviously, wrestling is one of those mediums where it's always ongoing. It's not like a movie where during the production and all that, yes, you have test audiences and it's released. People may not like it and you just have to go with it. I mean, I'm sure Chaos were never. Remember the game Mass Effect 3, where the game came out and it was, building up from this great thing, and then they completely pooped the bed and everybody was like, no, we want a new ending. And then they ended up having to bring the company back and make a new ending within 4 months of crunch to satisfy the fans. And it's sort of that thing. When do you compromise artist integrity for, public support or public appreciation? If that is the artist's viewpoint of what they want their creation to go, they want this to be the story, they want this where the characters live or die or whatever, then you have to respect of what the storyteller is trying to tell. You are not the person with that in mind. You're not the person writing the storylines. You're not the person creating this world or creating these characters. You need to respect of what the storyteller wants to tell. Now, in the concept of professional wrestling, there's always that element of pulling the trigger. Titles, people that get over. And it's like, well, what do? Do you stick to the plan that you're going to be dedicating months of your pay-per-views, your storytelling, who's involved in what storyline aspects? You don't know. And that's the hard thing about it, is that you have to understand when or where to pull the trigger. And I think as well with the Death Riders especially, like I've always said it's going to end at All In. It's going to end at All In, the biggest American Stadia show they're going to put on. It's going to end with that. Why would they pull it? I knew Swerve was going to lose a Dynasty. I know whoever Moxley's going to go at Double or Nothing will lose. Heck, if you wanted my thing, don't even do a title match. Do Anarchy in the Arena, Death Riders versus maybe even people in the Owen, or someone leading the charge like Osprey, Swerve, Hangman, returning Darby, and Cope against the Death Riders. So you have that aspect of these people are like, well, you tried to lead us in this direction. We're standing up and we're going to tell you how we want it to go, and we're putting the charge forward. You could do that. At the end of the day, it's what TK and whoever's want there who's involved with it, if it's Mox or whatever, are going to want the storyline to go in their direction. But I know it's going to end at All In. I don't know why people were complaining it should end now or pull the trigger now, because at the end of the day, it's not, you don't suffer the consequences of it as the viewer. It's the booker. It's the talent. All of those people will suffer the consequences of what they will do with the storyline. Now, at the end of the day, everyone's subjective. There were people, I saw a streamer online that was complaining that Kenny Omega didn't drop the belt to Ricochet because Ricochet was doing excellent work. We know the storyline is Kenny Omega going against Okada. Do you want to change that for some small minority of people's opinions? Or do you stick with your plan? Because at the end of the day, this is basically respecting the integrity of the storyteller. If you think you can do it better, start up a company and do it better. Or make an online series about fancy booking. Because at the end of the day, the storyteller, they're putting their money on the line. They need to pay their talent. You can't satisfy everyone. Is the Death Riders integral art? No. Is it more Netflix bingey content worth? Probably. At the end of the day, everybody's a critic.
Yeah, no, I get it, especially in the social media age, everyone has a voice, unfortunately. And yeah, it's my gripe with it is basically, see, I also agree. I thought it was going to be an all in. Maybe it might give it a swerve, pun intended, to give it to Swerve because of obviously the momentum that he has, and he would be, if it's not Darby, he would be the next best person to really lose, to win it against John. But it's just, I think everyone's gripe is just how the story is being told, and it's just like, yeah. See, I understand with, in comparison to when Roman Reigns was champ, probably 80 or 90% of his reign, it was always outside help via the Usos or via Solo. And everyone was just rolling their eyes. Oh yeah, Roman Reigns wins, lol. But I feel like just the way it's been told here, and the fact that this Riders thing is not it's not getting over with fans, and the fact that they're not really looking to call an audible, even though they kind of should, because it's not moving the needle. It's not doing anything for them. Compared with the Bloodline, there's obviously a bigger story underneath that needs Roman Reigns to be champion for as long as he was. So I think that's what everyone's gripe. That's what my gripe is. I don't mind waiting until All In for him to keep the title, but just the story that they are portraying and these almost ham-fisted scenarios that they're given, obviously with Christian just completely blowing his load in and failing to cash in, and now obviously with the Young Bucks, even though when they left they were destroying documents, they were afraid of the Death Riders, all that stuff. I'm sure they're going to try and explain it to us on Wednesday, but they don't really necessarily, and currently in this gimmick, they don't really have a good track record of explaining stuff, like we all know, obviously with the CM Punk stuff and everything else. So that's what my gripe is. I don't mind him keeping it to them, but it's just how they are telling this. And I understand it's because of the booker. He should definitely take the full brunt of it, but it's still not making it any good. You see what I mean? So yeah, it's just one of those things. But yeah, what about you, Ben Allison? I know you pretty much got a few pennies to give on this. What's your take? And then I'll get back to you. So what's your thoughts on this whole situation? Do you agree?
I'll say this right out of the gate. Soul, I respect your opinion, but I reject the sentiment that, fans are talking too much. The entire beauty of professional wrestling, and this has always been the case, is audience participation. They are part of stories. Crowds influence the direction of stories. And you are seeing in the Death Rider storylines, in the Death Rider segments, fans are literally getting out of their seats, going to the toilets. There are videos of it online. They are booing. They are not enjoying it. The difference with the Bloodline stuff was it was always doing big numbers. The social media numbers, for example, for the Death Rider stuff, has gone down significantly. In fact, usually on social media, it's some of their least viewed clips. Now, that being your world title storyline, that's not a good sign. Now, one thing I will say is we did a poll with 2,000 or around 2,000 wrestling fans who participated and voted in it the other day, asking if AEW's ticket prices was a factor in putting them off the product. Were the were the pay-per-view prices, was what I meant to say, too high? Of course, in America, it's $50 per pay-per-view, and 73% of them said it was too much, right? So well over 1,000 said that it was too much, it cost too much, and that was putting them off AEW. So when you are charging fans $50 for a pay-per-view, you should not then be merging two storylines, which fans made it clear they hated. The EVP storyline did not go down well with fans. I think liked it more than a lot of others did. I didn't have that much of an issue with it, but so many fans absolutely despised it, and that's the AEW hardcore fans too. This isn't just AEW haters. The actual AEW hardcore fans were giving this so much hate. They got rid of it, and now the AEW hardcore are hating on the Death Rider storyline. So what have they done? They have merged two storylines they hate and made people pay $50, and that was the ending. That was the conclusion which you gave them. The ending is always the most important thing, no matter what you're doing, because that is the part which people remember. And fans will give their thoughts. They always, they always have in wrestling, and that is the beauty of it. So I do think, I do think they need to listen to the fans truthfully, right, and probably pivot. And to Saul's point as well about the YouTube video, when there's so much content in this day and age, you can't expect your fans to not just watch your 2-hour product every single week, not just watch your second show every single week, but in addition to those 4 hours, watch a 40-minute interview on YouTube. You can't expect fans to do that. You really cannot. Sure, that should be able to, give some more details and add some more entertainment for some people, but that shouldn't be a requirement to understand the story, and that's what they try to do here, and it's a large reason why it hasn't worked out. And they showed like 3 minutes of it on Dynamite, and it was some of the worst 3 minutes of that entire 40-minute interview. So to summarize, I do think at this point they need to listen to their fan base and scrap this storyline and get somebody to take the title off of off of Moxley. I mean, if you can try and get it to All In, but honestly, I think you might have to try and find a way to do it at Double or Nothing.
Interesting. So what do you got to say? What's your rebuttal?
Like, if I give two single fucks about what everyone thinks online, about what they want, then I'm not going to enjoy it as a fan. If I overly criticalize every single thing that does this view, I'm not going to enjoy the product. I'm not going to enjoy it because I'm analyzing critically everything at the moment. I watch Dynamite when I can. I watch Collision when I can. And I'm following AEW social media pages, so I get that enjoyment there, because there's sometimes I can't watch the shows because I'm working or whatever. That's just the nature of the business. I can't worry about the other thousands of people that are watching, what their views are, what they like, what they don't like. I care about what I like. Is it selfish? Yeah, but at the end of the day, I'm not running AEW. I'm not running the company. I could say what I would like. I could say what I would like to see. Not going to happen, but at the end of the day, I can't worry about what everybody else wants. Now, obviously, you mentioned the prices there as well. The thing is with the prices, obviously, AEW offers a lot of content with their pay-per-views. And, of course, $50, it's a lot. Yeah, I understand it's the American market, but again, that's America. I don't know if you've not noticed, I ain't American. I get my AEW pay-per-views through Fight TV. They offer really great combo deals where I got Revolution and Dynasty in a 2-for-1 deal. I'm sure they're probably going to do it as well for Double or Nothing and All In, Forbidden Door and all that. They'll offer up combo packages. That's it. And obviously it's gone on Max as well. So you could watch the shows on Max. You can watch Dynasty on Max. Sorry, you can watch Dynamite on Max. You can watch Collision on Max. They've got it on Amazon Prime. They've got it on YouTube. They've got it at David Buster's. There are so many ways to watch it. And that's great that there's so many ways you can consume a wrestling product. You have that avenue. You have that ways to watch it. But at the end of the day, you need to remember it is a business. And as the days and years go forward, things go up in prices. Production costs will always go up in prices. You'll need to make revenue. Chaos, you'll be seeing it with video games. Nintendo Switch games are like 80 quid. Remember when a game was 40 quid?
Yeah.
In the beautiful days. But again, that just shows that the advancement of time, costs are going to go up. Things will always increase. Now, people are going to be like, well, be like WWE. Well, WWE is a part of Netflix. So while you're paying for Netflix, yeah, you may be paying it solely for a WWE fan, but you're going to be getting additional stuff. Because at the end of the day, people will view Netflix as, oh, that's the home of WWE. But then for common people, it's just Netflix. Netflix has that everything on it that you could want. TNA, are people going to solely pay for the TNA service that's nearly like $100 a year? Are people going to be paying for
2 pay-per-views in AEW?
Yeah, but AEW pay-per-views are actually good and good quality. TNA is not a good product.
Wow. I don't know. I think that's a blanket statement.
I don't think TNA is a good product. I think TNA is way too focused on NXT. Yeah, NXT really takes over TNA talent. I mean, there was a recent TNA show, right? It was a taping of a show, right? The NXT was the main focus of that. People were more caring about NXT chant. There wasn't a TNA chant. They were more interested within the NXT talent. The TNA champion just appeared on commentary and then was taken out backstage, and there was more focus on an NXT talent coming in and challenging for the world title just because. AEW product for me is value for money. Is it for somebody else? Maybe not. Every pay-per-view I've bought -1, I've enjoyed.
Which one was that one? Out of curiosity.
All Out 2022.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
That was a bad show. I'm happy to admit that was a bad show.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, like, I think as well with passions is that people always think you have to be there for it. You always have to pump money into it in any forms, whether it's just watching the shows or the pay-per-views or this subscription service for merch or buying merch all the time. Passions come and go. You can take a break from a passion, and sometimes it will be there when you come back, sometimes it won't. I think as well that it's selective. And like these people saying they're walking out of seats and all that, because at the end of the day they're going to be watching the show again because it's for content. How many old time wrestlers do we have online that complain and moan about this product, but then they continue to still do it because at the end of the day it's what pay their bills. It's what gets their
that's true.
engagement.
But the people walking out of the seats were just genuine fans. They weren't content creators.
No, there was
It was
one
just people
content
filming
creator
it.
at least.
I've seen that one.
And also, it was the end of the show as well, and it was
Yeah.
late as well. Don't get me wrong, Dynasty was a very long show. I definitely think
No, but they've been doing it on Dynamite. People have been going to the toilet.
Yeah, because we have to.
Yes, but there's always a toilet break in the show, and that toilet break should not be your world championship storyline.
Well, something else suffices it, then it doesn't really matter, in my opinion. You're going there for an experience. If you're just going there because of one belt and one guy, then the product isn't good. You should be going there because there's multiple things that interest you.
But your world title storyline still should be
let me
compelling to the
go,
majority of your audience.
Well, look at Raw, because I know it's a subject we're going to get into. The world title picture on Raw is absolute arse. The most real entertaining thing on Raw is the IC picture, and heck, even the
I don't even agree with that.
Well, on that is good. Just it doesn't have to just solely focus on that, like, because at the end of the day, it is subjective. I'm not a fighter. I ain't gonna fight for change, or I ain't gonna fight change this, change that, do this way or that way. I'm a consumer. I watch the show. I have fun with the show. Would I love to have flying out for All in Texas? Honestly, I would have, but logistically, money wise, I probably can't. I'll just get to watch it at home. It is what it is. I mean, I'll tell you what though. I will make it a clear statement here. If Ospreay wins the Owen and still loses to Moxley, then it is bad. Then it is cataclysmically bad, because you should not be having Ospreay, who's one of your most over men's wrestler, up there with Swerve and Hangman and Omega, losing to that. It should be Ospreay. It shouldn't be Darby.
Yeah. I agree with that, but the one thing which I do just want to ask quickly, Soul, is like you say this a lot, and that's why I want to bring it up about you not caring because you're not the one who's in charge, you're not in control or anything like that, and ultimately it's their point. But then on other stuff, you will complain about it, and it's like what is the difference?
So the main difference is because it's the product I'm invested in is obviously AEW. I'm very, very lenient. I'm biased. I will admit I am a biased individual because I have something I enjoy more than another product I do enjoy. With AEW, I'm happy because I'm subscribed to that. I watch that consistently. I'm always making sure what's up with that, and I'm happy with that. Something like Raw, like I complained about Raw for the money price it was. It was 296 quid for a ticket there, and I felt like the show was really subpar, minus John Cena and Cody. The El Grande Americano thing, because it was just funny. And Punk's promo was good as well. So at the end of the day, people are always going to be critical of things that they do like and don't like. I don't like this whole critical wrestling motif, because at the end of the day, wrestling, it's not real. It so is
why
just
do you do it then?
Because that's just how the way the world is now. We just have to always critique something because we have faults of it, we don't like it, or something. If there's something that generally I don't like, I will obviously critique it to the high heavens. Like there's been stuff in AEW that I've absolutely hated. I've hated the JAS. I've hated the Learning Tree. I've hated the Shark Cage match with Jericho and Eddie Kingston. I thought some aspects of Double or Nothing 2023 were very poor. I don't like how Forbidden Doors become more focused on the AEW side than the New Japan side. The partnership on that's a bit whack. I don't like Ring of Honor at all. I don't like people that have been relegated to Ring of Honor. I don't think that Ring of Honor even needs to exist in a current wrestling landscape. I don't think that AEW is truly Tony Khan's major focus right now, because he's so spent between Ring of Honor and AEW. I could logistically tear apart AEW and find so many aspects of it that I personally would change, or I think this should be done that way or done this way. But at the end of the day, I just don't care enough to do that because I just want to be a consumer and enjoy a product. Do I enjoy the WWE's product? In some aspects, yes, I do. But I am more inclined to stay up and watch an AEW product than a WWE product because I just generally love AEW more because I was watching AEW more than WWE in my initial wrestling fan period time, which was 2019 to 2020. WWE, I'll happily stay up and watch their pay-per-views because their pay-per-views are usually pretty good. I don't stay up and watch WWE's programming because I can get things summarized, in the Instagram reel or what they post for their promos and all that. I also find wrestling very hard to watch tape, in my personal opinion. For me, I rather
Agreed.
watch wrestling live in every aspect. Tape wrestling is just not fun to me. I'll watch the entrances, and then if I don't get invested in a match within the first 2 or 3 minutes, I'm just going to skip to the end. It's just me. It's just how I am. I do love wrestling. That's why I do this with you guys. That's why I do this full sessions. But
yeah,
being critical of something every time is draining for me personally.
no,
Sometimes
that's fair enough.
sometimes I
That's a
do
fair
it just
point.
sometimes I do it just for an act to annoy people because I do like being an annoying prick. Um, and also it is fun too sometimes because, like, look at the Americano Grande thing within WWE. A lot of people don't really like that. I think it's silly, stupid fun. And wrestling is a variety show. I
Yeah,
think a problem here with AEW, I will admit this, is that AEW has been very serious, especially since I would say the EVP stuff. EVP, we're taking over, we're doing all this, we're running the Honcho show now. Even with Moxley as well, like whenever hijacking the Superstation. And it's very jarring contrast when you can go from something like that to Will Ospreay, who's the biggest lovable dork on the planet, and you're like, yeah, we love this Billy Goat. I think I've always said this. I think AEW needs to be more focused on a face right now because look what it's done for WWE with Cody at the front of it. Has his title reign been perfect? No, but he is enjoyable. He's connected with the audience, and he is lovable. And I think that's what AEW needs to be. And as well, fantasy booking is a double-edged sword. How many people thought Shane McMahon was going to come in after that picture and everything? Everyone was like, it's Shane. Oh my God, it's Shane. And then people build themselves up too much hype that when what the story is that we get, they crash and burn because it's not what they expected. People don't like to be wrong. People always want to feel like they're smarter than they really are. People want to think that they're 2 steps ahead of somebody when in fact they're really at the back of the queue.
Interesting take. Very interesting take. There's some parts I do agree, some parts I don't, but that's fair enough. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion and all that stuff. You made some valid points there. And yeah, I understand. People are usually more doubly pissed when it doesn't come out the way they want. And sometimes that is, when it doesn't, the story actually ends up being better than what they predicted. But yeah, for some reason, I feel like the majority has spoken. It's not really like a small minority. It's like it seems to be a bigger problem. But yeah, like if you're enjoying it, then not just you specifically, but anyone that does enjoy it in general, then that's the most important thing, So, and they must be getting some kind of praise because they're still carrying on. Like there's been plenty of audibles in the past. Like obviously we know with the Cody situation last year and all that stuff that they will pivot or swerve. But yeah, they're really adamant with this, or should I say Tony Khan. But let me know your thoughts in the comments, guys, about this about Death Riders. Do you think it's something that they should press on up until All In, or should they just scrap it hopefully by Wednesday? Not hopefully, but you know what I mean. But anyway, enough of that talk. Let's switch over to the other side of the promotional wars, and that is obviously WWE, and with their World Heavyweight Championship scenario regarding Jey Uso and Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 41. Not gonna lie, obviously, since between after the Rumble and a few weeks after that, the storyline was not particularly great. And I think it's fair to say that everyone kind of they were disappointed, but they also understood why it wasn't going to be one of the main events of WrestleMania, because there just wasn't enough momentum. I was one of the ones that called out for it. Like, I didn't think it was going to be a main event. If anything, it should be an opener for one of the nights. But yeah, like and obviously after a few noticeable botches and all that stuff, but they've somehow, in my opinion, done a complete 180 and really turned it around. And my hype for this match is definitely gone back up again since Jey Uso won the Rumble. Yeah, like, yeah, certain segments, even the video packages. I think even Jordy in the bank, he said like he wasn't really hyped up on it, but when he saw the video package alone from last week, or last Monday, he was just like, yeah, that is, sign me up. I wish it was the main event. Why didn't they have this momentum going into it? But yeah, just obviously when all they had to take was someone to pretty much get murdered live on TV for us to really be invested into this storyline again. And obviously, yeah, Jey came out on Monday, no t-shirt, no yeet. He was trying to tell the crowd to stop yeeting. They didn't really listen. But yeah, we're gonna have a more serious, more grounded Jey Uso at WrestleMania. So for me, this my hype levels for this has definitely gone up. I'm still rooting for Jey Uso. Jey has to win. Surely he has to win at the Rumble at Mania, and then obviously take it from there. But yeah, I just wanted to obviously get a quick a quick follow-up regarding this storyline. So let's start with Uso, since I started with El Jefe first. So yeah, what's your thoughts on the hype levels and regarding the Jey Uso and Gunther storyline? Are you hyped for it? Do you even fuss? Do you not care?
I've always said that Jey Uso being the pick to win the Rumble and being in this position is the smartest move for business. Look at the reaction. Look at how he's presented. Look at the whole yeet thing, entering the crowd. The guy is over. So people mad that it's Jey don't know good business, I'm afraid. I think him as World Heavyweight Champion will be exceptional. However, there are aspects I will critique. And this is the main one here, is it not main eventing a night. I fully understand. Seth, Punk, Roman, 3 biggest stars in wrestling in today's modern era. You give that the biggest spot you can. And that's a main event in a night. Cody and Cena, need I say more? The problem with it not main eventing is it affects ideally 2 individuals. And that is Jey Uso not having main eventing because he's calling himself main event, and it kind of just destroys the fundamentals of the Royal Rumble, and as well as the World Heavyweight Championship. The World Heavyweight Championship is a fresh lineage belt with only Seth, Drew, Damian Priest, and Gunther holding it, 4 men. And as well, the World Heavyweight Championship will always see lesser than the WWE Championship. Do you consider yourself a fully satisfied wrestler if you don't become WWE Champion? For some people, that's it. That's the echelon above every single belt, every ever company. Winning the WWE Championship or the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, even that's a bit lesser now, but it has the lineage behind it, is the creme de la creme of a wrestler's career. The World Heavyweight will probably merge or get deactivated in maybe 5 or 8 years, and then they'll do another one down the line like they've done with the Universal. So it's always important in the moment you have it to establish it at the best critique you can. It opened, obviously, WrestleMania 40 Night 2. And I think it was a good position because it's a fresh belt. You're not immediately going to get that such a big showcase. With this now, they really need to make this belt feel important when it doesn't really seem like there's a brand split. Like people are just jumping around wherever they can. Maybe whenever the draft comes back, they're going to put the hard line of it. But at the end of the day, it always just crumbles down these barriers. Gunther's title reign hasn't been good, in my personal opinion. I think comparing it to his IC, it's just off. Like, in my mind, and this is just going off the cuff, the only people he's like, I just think of Randy Orton. Bash in Berlin is all he's really defended against. I know he's defended against others, but I don't know why it's just in the back of my mind that. And obviously losing the Crown Jewel tournament championship ring thing to Cody probably didn't help as well. I've always said that's a smart move because it's business wise and it's business that, but storyline wise, does it really affect it? I don't know, because is Jey now going to hold that belt until then? Will he go against Cena this year? Well, who's Cena going to get? Cena, I don't think Cena's going to be Cody, nonetheless. So what's that going to be like at Crown Jewel Championship? Is Cena then going to also get a ring as well and all that jazz? I don't know. I don't know. And with Jey as World Heavyweight Champion, which I think it should be, I will also clarify as well, I'm excited for this match. I am, for somebody who's going to be there in person, I think it's going to be great. I will enjoy it. But it's obviously, I always think of where do we go next? What's the aftermath? What is next planning? For Jey as World Heavyweight Championship, you need heels for him to go against. Now, you could just throw him the obvious ones of throwing, Xavier Woods and Kofi from the New Day as a little challenge, the Raw after, just to start it off hot. You can have Braun Breaker as a heel, maybe when he drops the IC going after it. You obviously have the Judgment Day blokes that can come around and boost the numbers every once in a while in a house show tournament. But this might be a controversial take here, right? But hey, we all got opinions and I've been going on about it. If I had to pick somebody who I personally like, he's got good presentation, he's changed himself into a positive aspect, I would have Karrion Kross take the belt off Jey Uso.
Oh,
because
wow.
I really like his presentation. I don't like the Judgment Day. I think they've gone on way too long and basically become like the goofier aspects of the Elite with the gravitas of late 2000s NWO. Like, it's not for me personally.
Mm.
I really like Cross. I've always harped on that I would love to see him go back to his White Rabbit gimmick in Lucha Underground. I feel like with his recent reinvention and going to do Bloodsport as well will put him back in the eyes of fans of like, oh, we actually like him now. We actually think he's pretty damn good. And obviously he's got back his old theme, Fall and Pray, which he had in NXT, which everybody really liked as well. He's not lingering with this Final Testament stuff that is gone. He's also somebody that's been in Sami Zayn's ear, so maybe that could be an aspect of it as well, that we could see then the belt go to Sami Zayn as a continuation of a story. But in this moment right here with Jey Uso and Gunther, the build has been weak. I think it's been weakened by not getting a main event slot. But within like the last week and a bit, they've course corrected very well, and I think it has grabbed people's interest back.
Fair enough. No, 100%. Karrion Kross to take the title from Jey. I mean, it's gonna be it's gonna be very interesting seeing him with a mullet. That's for sure. But yeah, no, I'll be down for that as well. Karrion Kross, I feel like he definitely deserves some sort of a title run, whether it's mid card or upper. Especially with the work that he's been putting in. If there's anyone that deserves it, it will be Karrion Kross. Do I think they see him that way? I don't know, and it's weird because he is a Triple H guy. He was the one that was carrying NXT for quite a while before he got taken up to the main roster. So yeah, it's a weird one. That is probably Triple H might think, oh, it's a bit crowded, so maybe not yet, but we'll have to see. What about you, Ben Allison? What's your thoughts? What's your hype levels on this? Do you agree? Has it definitely piqued your interest now, or are you just still not feeling it?
Time can make or break a story, and it did almost kill this, because the big issue was we knew about this like the week after the Royal Rumble, and I think they had like 14 weeks to fill. And it was just ridiculous. It's impossible to drag a storyline for that long, and they struggled. They really, really did. They didn't even give it their best shot. It just sucked, right? And it sucked all the way until last week, like you mentioned, and that Jimmy Uso attack. I cannot remember a time when a storyline was so stale and then suddenly in the middle of the story, it gained just so much momentum. And that segment, it added so much emotion. Jay's promo this week was fantastic. And suddenly I'm right back in this. And I mean, I guess it happened at the perfect time, but they did take too long to get to the interesting part. But they're finally here now. I do think they kind of did a little bit of an audible. I do think they changed the story up compared to what they were originally hoping to do. But hey, it's worked and I'm invested once again. So to your point about the main event, I do see that point. I very much do. But the issue is they have 4 world championships. They have the men's world, the women's world, the men's WWE and the women's WWE. And the fact is there's 2 nights. And for whatever reason, they put a non-title triple threat in the main event of one of the nights. I would have put the Women's World Championship 3-way personally. But yeah, I mean, listen, I wasn't interested, but now I am.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get into this argument. That's fair enough.
That, son. You've been told no.
No, that's fair enough. Don't get me wrong. Even the momentum for the women's triple threat has kind of built up a little bit, especially again after this past week. But I also see what the main event is right now. It makes sense. It's not favoritism.
No, it does make sense.
So yeah, that's where I sat on that. So fair enough. So everyone agrees on their hype levels regarding this. Hopefully they can keep it up. They just got one more week. Just keep it up for one more week, and then you can all relax when it happens on. I assume it will be night one. Me personally, I'll put it as opening match for night one. Same as it did last year when it was Becky and Rhea opening. So yeah, we'll see there. Okay, just before we wrap up, obviously I said Saraya has officially left AEW. Sorry, Soul. And she's had somewhat decent run there. She was able to make her return to wrestling there. She had that feud with Britt Baker. Obviously the Outcasts, and she won in front of home crowd at All In. We were there seeing that, witnessing that. We was there a year later, and then Britt Baker returned and beat the hell out of her and all that stuff. So yeah, she had a decent run out. I think it's fair to say. And yeah, but now she's officially left. And she's been teasing a potential return to WWE. She's been putting lyrics of her theme song on X. And I think she was on a recent interview saying that she would love to make a return and stuff. She's got unfinished business and whatnot. So there's, from what I can see from online, the greatest place of all time, obviously. There's a bit of a mixed reaction, which she actually fit in today's mold of WWE. Is there space for her to come in? Because it's quite booming, especially on the women's roster. And if so, like, would it be in an active wrestler role and not, GM or a manager? So, just off the top of your head, guys, what would be your top 3 opponents that you would want her to be to face if they accepted her to come back as an active wrestler? Let's start with you, El Jefe. Who would you want her to see?
I mean, I definitely would like to see her return just for a retirement run. I think she has done so much of women's wrestling that she does deserve that, but I do think it would need to be a retirement run with probably a set date on the end of it. I mean, I can't remember who it was who said it, but I'd love to see her in Shotzi's faction in NXT. One of our commenters said it the other day. To see her in that faction, I think would be very fun. She'd be a good fit there. But of course, her versus Rhea Ripley, I think would be a very fun match. Her versus Roxanne as well, especially with the AJ influence on Roxanne. That could be, quite cool, and you can play into that a little bit. And then who else? I mean, maybe a Stephanie Vaquer, putting her over as she retires or something like that.
Okay. I'm liking those. So sounds like you'd rather see her have an NXT run instead of the main roster, which is fair enough.
No, when they're called up. Roxanne's now called up, so, call them up and then just put them over and then say goodbye.
Fair enough. What about you, Soul? Are you excited to see Saraya, formerly known as Paige, back in WWE? And if so, who would you want to face?
I mean, personally, not really, because obviously I wasn't really watching when Paige or Saraya was in WWE, even as a GM. It wasn't my era. I thought she was finally. Oh God! My first introduction to Saraya / Paige was the Fighting with My Family movie, and that was very interesting to watch. I do like the movie, actually. I think it's probably the best movie WWE has ever produced. Sorry, see no evil with Kane. But for me, if I had to book Paige coming back, I obviously the show has been announced or anything like that. We don't know what's happening, but personally, I would have her return like a Punk style at the end of Evolution 2. An all-women show. One of your biggest women stars of the past, bring her back in that sort of caliber, saying she's cleared to wrestle. That's a moment. And I would have it be this, is that, could you stick her on the main roster? Absolutely you could. Could you put her in the mid-card women's championship as a big title picture, women's picture? Yeah, you could. But Paige has more of a history to a particular brand. What she was to that brand was their inaugural champion of the NXT brand. Have her go there and be like, I was the legend of this brand. You see what my star has risen to, social media stardom, movie stardom, and I want to find out who is willing to grab this brass ring and become the next, real women's superstar. And you can have her be like a Ric Flair, put her career on the line in every match. You could have her win the NXT Women's title again, and then basically be like, who's ready to take this off me and defeat a legend to become a legend? I would love to see the likes of her and Cora Jade, Roxanne Perez, Jordan Grace, Sol Ruka. I do think, though, Paige or Saraya isn't up to the caliber of somebody like a Julia or a Stephanie Vicaire or even a Jordan Grace. I think there will be limiting factors to her because those people work a very high aggressive style. Could they bring down their style to match Saraya? Absolutely. But I just think her in NXT would be more beneficial with how we've seen the women specifically treated in NXT. It's been such a high-focused women's brand, a celebrated women's brand, that I think to have one of their biggest women's stars in wrestling retire in that brand would be a big moment for women's wrestling in relation to NXT.
Fair enough. Yeah, those are very good shouts on that. Yeah, definitely I definitely want to see her against Roxanne Perez or Cora Jade for sure. Sol Ruka is a good shout. I would say, and what I've noticed is that most of Paige's matches or good matches that I remember, they're usually against people that are like either her height or just tall. So I would love to see her against Charlotte Flair. I mean, her matches were pretty good when they feuded. Jordan Grace is a good shout. And even people like even Shayna Baszler, or someone that's not really on the come up. You definitely got some. You can spare like these that's not going to really bury them or hurt their momentum. So yeah, people like Shayna Baszler, people like Zoe Stark. I think you could definitely have some good feuds with those. And if she was still around, maybe Sonya Deville. I would love to see Paige against Sonya Deville. I would say. I think that
the history.
That would have been good. But yeah, if it happens, I think the best place would be Evolution, because I was wondering like, what's the best place to do it? Maybe not not Raw after Mania, and there's nothing really coming up that would really benefit that. So yeah, I'd say probably Evolution, especially considering you're bringing it back after, this has been fan requested for years. So yeah, want to wrap it up on that. So that's a good shout. And has she been credited as being part of the Evolution as well?
Yeah, pretty much.
So yeah, it would be quite fitting if she was meant to be part of it and all that. Even though it's meant in canon, it's meant to be Stephanie McMahon. But yeah, we ain't going to talk about that. Anyway, on that note, we've come to the end of the episode. Thank you very much, Sol. Thank you very much, El Jefe, for joining us at the table. Be sure to check us out on the Daily Show. Be sure to check out Sol on the Sol Sessions. What's your next interview coming up, Sol?
Oh God, I got quite a few, and I'll give you exclusives because I love you, big man. Obviously, we've got Ellie Armstrong as part of Planet A, which is a faction here in Scotland. They're basically an all-vegan group. They're just terrorizing community pro wrestling. Great fun faction. We have big manager Blanche, who's a manager to James Ellis, who recently appeared on SmackDown as a security guard. And we've got a few others in the pipeline already recorded, and a big one, hopefully, if all technical issues go fine, will probably be one of the biggest interviews of the year.
Yes. I got inside news on that one. That one is going to be huge. So be sure to check that out. Be sure to subscribe to the Soul Sessions. And like I said, go check us out on the daily. We got Off the Air. We got Soul Separately. You can obviously take it to the table here, and even more shows coming up very soon. Addison Analysis. Sorry.
Shout out to Spotlight Creole. Shout out to the Spotlight.
Yeah, Spotlight. Yeah, I was about to say, Spotlight, Ben, Addison Analysis, all that good stuff, and some more in the pipeline too. So be sure to like, share, and subscribe. All that good stuff. But until then, this has been Take It to the Table. I have been your host, Chaos. He has been El Jefe. Down below has been Soul. Until next time, guys. See you at the table. Peace.
It's chaos.